Wealth, fame, power. Gold Roger, the king of the pirates, attained this and everything else the world had to offer. And his dying words drove countless souls to the seas.
You want my treasure? You can have it. I left everything I gathered together in one place. Now you just have to find it.
These words lured men to the Grand Line in pursuit of dreams greater than they'd ever dared to imagine. This is the time known as the Great Pirate Era.
Come aboard and bring along all your hopes and dreams. Together we will find everything that we're looking for. One Piece.
Hello and welcome to another episode of A Boy in a Barrel podcast. Before I'm hung from the gallows, I am your host of the episode, Pirate King Nato, and with me is my co-host and future Pirate King himself, Dane Heavy. How you doing, bud?
Man, I'm doing good.
You're starting to get close to that, to seeing that dream coming. You're not there yet. You're nowhere there, but
I'll always be Chore Boy at heart. But this is we are getting there, and I'm so keen and so pumped to talk about this one. This is a very big arc, my friend. This is a very big.
Yeah,
arc.
this is the big episode. We did talk about it last episode where, Baratie's not given enough credit for being the big, huge kind of first impactful arc. And that's only because this arc kind of overshadows it a bit too much. And it's not the fault of Baratie, it's just... We'll get into it in a sec. We'll do the last little bit of sum up.
Yep.
If this is your first episode, this is a One Piece watch-along podcast with myself, the lifelong One Piece superfan, and only recent One Piece watcher himself. Well, re-attempter.
Yeah, that's it.
Dane. As we go through arc by arc discussing the adventures of Monkey D. Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirate crew on his quest to become the Pirate King and why One Piece will become the modern day Odyssey. On this episode, we will be talking about Arlong Park Arc, episodes 31 to 44. No spoilers. No spoilers. No.
Full spoilers.
Yeah, full spoilers. No. Oh, what's it called now? Oh, mine's fallen away from me.
Well, we got spoilers, so what do we got? No whole bars.
No thrillers. Fillers.
No fillers.
God, I had
Plenty
thriller
of
bark in my head from our conversation before.
I know. Look at you go, mate.
We're talking about Arlong Park. As I alluded to a few seconds earlier, this is the arc that kind of cements One Piece as a big contender of people's, top tens and why they should start making the journey to, these days, 1,000 episodes. And kind of rewards you for the, lead up to this arc. And I think this also... I've talked about Oda being a bit of training wheels and all that, and him training you and training your mindset of what you are to kind of get used to and all that. Because this kind of does feel like how a saga kind of plays out. And you, now that you're a bit further in, you've met the longer and thicker arcs that are in the future, where each one of those little mini arcs set up all these little puzzle pieces and things for this arc to kind of prosper and pay off, didn't it? All the little things that Nami has done arc to arc leading up to this kind of nearly mirrors what you were kind of seeing with Vivi and all that in Alabasta, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%.
They're there, you get the little snippets, and then once they get to the island where the arcs kind of... This is not the final arc of this saga, but it is technically, because I consider kind of Logetown to be the glue between these two arcs rather than being the end of the end of the saga. But yeah, we're here. What is your initial reactions with this one? Because I remember last time saying you only got up to, I think it was Usopp's one, your first kind of wash through, and then you had Baratie.
Yep.
So now you're in a bit more of a positive mindset, kind of coming into this arc. What was your initial kind of reactions to this arc? Actually, I'm going to do one quick little summary of the actual arc. With Sanji from the Baratie crew joining, from the Baratie joining the crew and Nami stealing the ship, the Straw Hat Pirates follow her to an island under the control of the fisherman pirate Arlong. Nami reveals that she is a member of the Arlong Pirates and simply helped the Straw Hats so she could take their gold later. But But why would she follow a man like Arlong? So what is your mindset going into this? You kind of get a bit of a, is Nami evil? Is she not evil? What's going on?
Baratie was such a good ending. And as you sort of said, like the first time I watched this, I sort of jumped off on the Usopp arc. And I thought that sort of was a bit dry for me. But I wish I'd pushed forward through to the Baratie. Because just the way that they already sort of started playing out that really good storytelling with Sanji and, you know, his origin story. I loved that. Yep. Which then you obviously get the backstory on the lead onto that with Zoro. And there was so much happening in that arc. So I left in a really good place, but it also left you on that sort of cliffhanger where you've got like Nami, who you thought was solid with the crew, but you're sort of like obviously mindful of her sort of past tendencies to be like still hate the pirates. But then again, Zoro's did too, and like he's jumped on board. You know, she's a bit of a thief. And then that's sort of how it ends with the last arc, the fact that she's sort of stolen the Going Merry. But then there's that last scene where she's sort of sitting, you know, at the bow of the ship and she's basically has that tear and just saying like, I wonder if they'll, something in the lines of like, I wonder if they'll let me back. I wonder if one day we can become friends again. It's that layer and that depth of going, there's a bit more to this, you know, it's not just as simple, like it really hurt her to leave the crew. You know, and Luffy doesn't want to let go either. You know, she's the only navigator that he will ever have on the crew. So, oh man, I left on a high, and I was keen to get into the next one. I think this is where I like went for that hard binge, and I'm so glad I did because holy dooly, like, you know, you're talking about Oda sort of leaving those breadcrumbs of storytelling. You know, the little bits and pieces here along the way as it goes. But this is where he really closes up the trap for anyone that sort of gets invested. This is where you watch this arc, and for me it was like, okay, all right, I'm invested. This is where you got me.
He builds that confidence and trust where like, hey, I know we might be a bit slow and boring in some episodes here and there, but trust me, I am doing something.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you filler really ever. Yep. In a sense. Like everything is important. And like when you get 1,000 episodes in and you keep going back and you're like, I think I'm up to about maybe 6 or 7 rewatches at this moment now. And like, there is still to this day stuff I go, even now when we're doing this podcast and I'm rewatching it with you to find stuff to talk about, I'm like, holy moly, I didn't even notice that last rewatch.
But I feel like this is why, like, just again, watching this from my first watch through, I really feel like this is where One Piece fans are in it. Like, this is why the whole thing's about the journey. This is why people are sort of happy to play the slow route along the way for these sort of arcs, for these storytelling moments there where it just leaves you absolutely emotionally high. And you're happy to be compensated for the slow drag along the way. And not that I guess not all of it, like so far up to this, like this will be like episode 31 by the time this arc starts.
Yeah, 31.
In the episode. So 14 episodes, starts at 31, ends at 44. I still feel like there's been a little bit of like slow, you know, but again, you're looking back, especially when you go into this arc, there is a reason for it. And it just builds up. Yeah. And I think this 14 episodes is just layers of backstory. It's layers of reasonings why. And it builds up to this massive crescendo.
And it doesn't feel cheap, as in, like, sometimes you'll see a movie where they're like, this is the reason, and this is why this person, and you're still like,
Nah, there's a lot of subtletiness to it as well, so I really like it. And I guess this is where I can appreciate it. So, like, if you were to watch this again, I'm sure you'd pick up other things. And this is why I enjoy having the talks with you, mate, with this podcast, is that you're going to enlighten me of things that I would have missed and things that I'm going to be like, oh, those moments, you know what I mean? Especially even on the manga side of this. Again, you've read the manga, I haven't touched the manga on this one here, so keen to get your feedback.
So we'll talk about the big elephant in the room with, unfortunately, a show that's been going this long and this part of the arc being so long ago. A big scene in this arc kind of floats around the internet a lot.
Yep.
Do you feel like it was kind of ruined for you?
Oh, absolutely
going
not.
Into this?
No, absolutely not. And this is, again, like, I echo this, it feels like on every episode that we do. Like, I have spent a lot of time on the internet and seeing a lot of, like, as an anime fan, you see a lot of things like the algorithm throws at you. And this particular one scene, I've seen it many times, and I just had no emotional skin in the game. I didn't know what the context was. You can tell it was big. And again, this is one of those moments where I wanted to be involved. I wanted to know, I wanted to feel. And even though, like, it's not like, you know, the first time you're turning Super Saiyan, you've been following along the way. Like, I watched this And I knew it was big, but I just didn't feel any of it. I didn't know who the characters were. I didn't know what's happening in the moment. I didn't know what the build-up was. But when you watch it with the episodes going through it and you're on the journey and you understand, you got the context for it and you're already feeling the emotions. Like, this is the tail end of it. Yeah, man, does it hit hard? It hits hard and it ramps up. That's that one moment that sort of sets it off. And then it's just an emotional roller coaster. And then just that ending too. Like after I reached out to you with those scenes, like you get it afterwards. I didn't think it was ruined whatsoever. The only thing that I wish, and I sort of said this to you before, again, watching it in English, I think this is where the Japanese version of it would have hit harder.
Yeah. Because shout out to the English voice actor. They're not bad. Because I've watched a lot of dubbed anime where it's actually bad. It's just, God, the Japanese voice of Luffy is just so good at capturing what... maybe because they get to talk to Oda or something like that, or they just capture the moments and they feel like how... When I've read them earlier in the manga, where the months earlier, and then I see it on the and then it just feels like what I imagined those scenes were going to be.
Yeah.
Tone, context, volume, everything.
Yeah. And even just the language. Like, I remember watching it and it hit hard, but I'd seen the Japanese version of it and I'd read the Japanese version of it, so I knew it was coming. And then when you're watching and listening to the English version and, you know, the line is completely different, it hits differently. And I just think the Japanese delivery, and not just focusing on voice, but just the line that is said, which is different to the line in the English, hits different. And I don't know whether that's just me, but knowing what was coming up and then got delivered, it sort of made me think like, oh, I was expecting that other line, which hit harder.
Yeah. All right, we'll get into the arc because we'll get to the Nami scene once we get to it. But I did want to address it straight up for the start because, unfortunately, it is now a 26-year-old anime. So from when it started, so
super hard.
Because I was talking to Benny about where he was up to in his series, and he's like, "I'm up to this thing," and I'm like, "Oh, you haven't even finished that. Oh, you haven't got to the time skip, and you also haven't seen Redacted and all that." And he's like, "Yeah, but it's been spoiled for me," and I'm like, "Oof, that is one of the ones I don't ever want to be spoiled for people, but I still don't think it won't take away from it, but it kind of does, that one, and I don't want to get too deep into that one.
No.
I hope that one is not ruined for you.
There's one other...
you haven't...
Yeah, there's one other scene that I've seen many upon many times on socials, and I won't go too into it, but again, I know it's big. I can see
Is it another Nami?
No, it's not a Nami. No, it's a Zoro moment.
No, it's not. It's not. Yeah. Is it nothing happened?
Nothing happened. Yes.
Okay, cool.
So I know, again, it's like the way that I look at this is
that's another Nami moment where it doesn't even matter if I explained it to you. It won't hit hard until it...
That's how, because I know it's big. Like, I look at that, how I look at this. I look at that and go, I know that's a big moment. I know a lot of people watch that.
Okay, that happens in Thriller Bark. Remember I was telling you about Thriller Bark?
Yep.
Yeah. And I said, people that say you should skip that, and I'm like, well, that Zoro moment happens in that. So
okay,
and you see how much is on the internet. So
well, exactly. And again, I know.
But that's where we'll seal that in a box and we'll put it off to the side now. Yeah,
I'm keen to unpack that, but
so
I have no skin in the game.
There's two other big ones that I'm like, I was worried it was one of those ones, and I was like, oh, thank God. No, that's another Nami moment in the same box as in it won't be ruined until it happens, because then you'll be like.
I'm still, and I know we're talking about this, I don't want to spend too much time on it. I'm still trying to work out what happens to the Going Merry, because clearly, every other ship that you see, it's got the teddy bear thing on the front. So
don't look into it.
No, I don't want to look into it, and I'm concerned
if
I speak too loudly near my phone, my phone's going to start this algorithm of trying to show me what happens.
No, Do not spoil that for yourself. For you.
Yeah, okay.
It is a beautiful moment. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
That's one that's similar to the Benny one where I'm like, I'd never want that to be ruined for somebody.
Okay.
But that happens in Water 7. Remember I said Water 7 is the best arc ever?
You did.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
That's a Water 7 thing.
I'm far.
All right, let's get into some recaps.
All right, cool. Let's go.
We left Baratie. We're on our way. The boys are trying to get. We've got our B characters. Remember how much we've talked about how good I totally
Johnny?
forgot about Johnny.
Johnny and what's his name?
Yosuku.
Yep.
Oh man, I'm butchering it. I'm sorry. I apologize to the fans. I'm not good with names in real life. In general, it's not because I'm not a good One Piece
I should
fan.
know that too. I'm just trying to have a look. But anyway, keep going.
I say my mum's name wrong sometimes. All right, guys. All right,
Mate, that's not great.
Yeah, no, it's just something that is my perk in ADHD.
Yusuku. Oh, yeah, I've got it down as Yusuku. Good job. Yosuku. Yeah, good job, man. Good job.
All right. Yeah, Yosuku takes the time during this trip to.
Aren't they
explain
divided?
about Arlong.
Aren't they not together? One of them's on one boat, the other one's on another boat, or are they both on different boats? Because one of them's with Luffy, isn't it?
Yeah. One of them's with Luffy and stayed back with Luffy and Sanji. Then the other, and then the other one's on the boat with
Zoro
and yes,
Yusuf. Yeah.
Yeah, Yusuf.
Yeah,
Yusuf.
Right. Because they're pretty much everyone's
they
going.
Went there,
they went
left
there early.
earlier.
Yeah. But everyone's going to the same direction. They're all after
Yes.
where Nami's gone, and Nami's gone to wherever it is, not Fish Island, but the other place.
So this is our like secret lore building, universe building moment where they sneak in a lot of good stuff in this episode here. Side note: this is your first new ending of the episode, so you'll actually get a new ending. It's a great one. I love that ending. This is your first mention of actual concrete mention of the 7 warlord pirates.
Yep,
you
we'll
actually
talk
get
about
the silhouettes. Do not worry about the silhouettes. That is a running gag and meme with Oda.
But you do know who one of them is because you've met one.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is me.
Well, he actually mentions 2. He mentions 2 in this bit.
Because one of them is Arlong.
Mihawk.
Yeah, Mihawk.
No.
Oh, no.
No. Arlong.
No. Oh, no. Okay. All right. I know
get
Mihawk.
his ass handed to him by any of the warlords.
Mihawk just seemed to be OP. Like, he was too...
Yes.
He was very early in the stage, way OP. Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So he mentions the warlords. You get, when he's mentioning it, there's a bunch of, silhouettes behind him of, and... Yeah, none of them look like their silhouettes at all. So
reminds me a bit of Naruto with the pains. Not the pains.
Yeah.
You know, I forget what they're called now.
Akatsuki.
Yeah, Akatsuki. And then slowly you sort of meet them and they come out. Yeah, okay, like it.
Yeah, because they in the manga at the moment they mentioned this royal guards or something like that, and all their silhouettes rocked up, and everyone was like, "Oh, this one looks like this one." And then it's this big
Who's
fight
that
on
Pokemon? It doesn't look anything.
Everyone's like
It's a
how many times has he shown us silhouettes and they've not been right?
Yeah, that's
right?
it.
So
that's
shut up about silhouettes,
no.
okay?
Yep.
All right. But he meant because they're going to Arlong. He mentions that he's a fish man. This is your first non-human race. There's going to be a shit ton of them coming up.
But we haven't hit the grand line yet, so we're still in.
So that's why your first thing. And then he mentions Jinbei, who is also a fish man and also one of the 7 warlords. So that's your first mention of Jinbei. He will be a huge
I didn't even pick up on that. Did not pick up on that. There you go.
So he mentions Jinbei, which is funny because Jinbei 100% doesn't look like any of those silhouettes.
There you go. Yes. So don't rely on the silhouettes.
No. Okay. You get Nojiku gets her first kind of appearance. This is Nami's sister-in-law.
Oh, that's right.
And you also get your first kind of setup of how kind of the warlords work. Because you get in that episode, the Navy man is getting bribes from Arlong, and so is kind of looking a blind eye to what his actions are, which is similar to what the warlords kind of agreement is with the
Marines,
the government.
Yeah. So how does that work again? They can do what they want, but they get a portion of the bounty of that.
It's pretty much how privateers worked in pirate times.
Okay.
Gotcha. A pirate would work for the English Navy, and they would never plunder or do anything to English Navy ships, but they would plunder Spanish ships and French ships. So, and then the French would also employ privateers, and then they would jump onto, but in this world, just one government, so they are all working for the government.
Gotcha.
And in the case of a war or whatever, they can call on the warlords to be on their side.
Right.
most of the warlords are singular as well. They don't really have a crew or anything like that. Most of them are by themselves. They're not like, even though I've explained it to you a few times, but yeah, they're not like the emperors that we'll eventually meet later down the line.
Yeah,
they are their own big thing, yes. Because they do work for, what do you call it? And technically a warlord is on the level of like working for an emperor.
Okay.
Apart from Mihawk. I think Mihawk's about the only one who can contest an emperor at this stage.
Right.
Of all of the warlords. Yes.
Which is surprising because you meet him so early. So, anyway.
Yeah, actually, a few of the warlords are working for emperors later down the line.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we get that with the fish navy man. He's working with Arlong and bribing. And
yeah,
this
that's
is
right.
your first kind of like, what's going on with this episode?
Yeah,
so that's, and then we also, Johnny and Zoro arrive at the island. And that's kind of the end of that episode.
How they bail on him? Let's unpack that. Like, literally.
Because that's next episode, yep.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, there you go. No worries.
Yeah. So the episode opens with them being like, oh, because like the fishmen kind of like pop out.
Yeah, because they're sitting on the wharf, and it's like, oh, there they are. And then they got Zoro tied up, and so they've just left Zoro on like
because Zoro said like, let's just head straight into Arlong. So they end up tying him up so that they won't like charge headlong into Arlong Park.
Yeah.
Which we would have learned later. We learned later down the line that probably wouldn't have gone too well with Zoro's current injuries. We get the big reveal this time that Nami actually is working for Arlong, because then like Zoro is like captured and she comes out and flashes the Arlong actual tattoo on her arm.
Yeah, so she gets off the boat. Is this the episode where she gets off the boat and then she's like heading in towards Arlong Park or to see Arlong, and then you've got the young kid that sort of comes up and.
So this is when she's leaving Arlong Park that happens.
Oh, okay.
So just after doing the whole Zoro thing,
yep,
she's kind of pissed off from the scenario, which we understand why later down a few episodes later. But at this stage, they really are setting her up for that like villain angle of like, you have inklings, but you're like, nah. And then when she comes out and beats the kid up, like, which at the time,
but then she drops the cash. She's like, she beats this kid up and says, "Don't go in there." Then you sort of realise,
the cracks are forming more and more on this like image they're trying to build for you and all that. And then they go, why don't they go to the village? I think they just go there to take money. But then like they start harassing the village, and that's where like you get like these are the moments that I wish people remember a lot more and defend my good boy. Because this is where like Usopp yet again like steps up to the mantle when he
does step up
really
in
need
this.
to. And he like shoots the fishermen and then like gets them to chase him out of town, so like avoids all the damage, and like he literally shoots Arlong.
Yeah. He does. This is probably the one arc where I think they really highlight everyone. Like even Usopp, like they all sort of stand up in their own different way. And
Usopp there's a big moment with him later on that I want to talk about. This is also where we get Genzo.
Yeah, Genzo's
the sheriff.
Yep.
We also get the like Genzo's scars. Like, and at this moment we don't understand all that.
He's full
kind
of scars.
Stuff,
and then has he got the windmill hat at this point in time when you first see him?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're sort of like, what's the go there? Yep.
But this also is the big point where Zoro also shows his kind of understanding of people's character as well, because this is where he does his like. You've seen a moment he also does pretty psychotic things and all that to prove a point with a certain candle man and all that.
That's it.
But in this moment, he doesn't believe anything that like Nami's feeding to him, so he literally just like pushes off and like dives into the water, all tied up, like he's gonna die.
So this is the part. So to play this is where Nami's hanging out with Arlong. And Arlong's this big, badass, shark-looking dude. He's a shark.
Yep. He's a shark.
Like, the leader.
He's like a sore-nosed shark.
Yeah, he's like sword-nosed. Sword-nosed shark. Massive dude. And then he's got, like, obviously the support of other fishmen, which is not just fish. There's some fish. There's some octopus. Basically all sort of beefed-up sea creatures. And then here comes Nami. And Nami, that's when you sort of disclose, okay, she's part of the crew. I don't know whether she discloses the tattoo at this stage, but she's part of the crew. And then Zoro pops up because Zoro's been captured. And then there's that moment where she's like, she either could show the signs of like, you know, she's with Zoro or she's choosing sides here. Zoro has no beef in it. Like Zoro thinks she's turned. And then what happens? Like he pushes off into the water.
Yeah, he pushes off. Yeah. He just like pushes back.
Yeah.
And then it like purposely tries to drown himself.
Yeah, okay.
Because he like this
Just
is his
to
like
test it. This is his pushing point to the test.
Yeah. The crazy concept of like if he was wrong, he'd be dead. That's it. Just wild.
But she jumps in and saves him.
Yeah, because it's Nami and she's not a bad guy.
I'm just trying
This is our big solid moment where we realize that like
there's cracks.
Yeah, it has shattered the facade like to the Arlong Pirates, not yet, but we're like even if she is evil, like even if she's working with Arlong, she isn't evil. There must be a reason. Like, what is the reason?
Yeah, she's not at the same level because that's the mind in that early stage. My mindset is going, oh, okay, she's working for the other team, but then there's moments there where like the team is completely ruthless. Like Arlong is so far in the series, like he's the baddest of the bad at the moment, and he's definitely the most powerful out of everyone we've come across so far. His cronies, you don't really know like what they can do, and it's a bit of a larrikin type. The comedic side of things is pretty heavy, especially with the octopus, which is good because it's like obviously got two tones for that. The octopus is quite funny actually. I forget his name, but I'll write it down.
Hachi.
Yeah, Hachi. Hachi's great
Because it's 8. It's 8.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. See the pun?
Yeah.
See those things you miss out.
Yeah, they play it
Not
up.
like knowing Japanese and stuff like that. And that's literally when I was learning Japanese. That's how I would remember 8 by his name.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Hachi. Yeah. I think that's all for this episode. Yeah, she beats up the kid. Next episode is after Zoro escapes with Nami's help, she tries to prove her loyalty to the Arlong Pirates by appearing to kill Usopp. Meanwhile, Luffy's group finally arrives to the island. All right, so the big thing I want to talk about is the censor of the blood, even in the 4 animation one.
Yep.
When Nami does that like fake stab, God, there is like blood like everywhere.
You mean fake stab to Zoro?
No, to Usopp.
Oh,
remember,
yeah. That's right.
Like this time, finally, Usopp gets captured, and then they have nearly a repeat kind of scenario and all
from
that.
Zoro to Usopp.
But this time, like Zoro's already escaped because she's kind of like left the swords for him, and he's like decimated all of the fishmen, which kind of gives you a bit of a feel of like, all right, they're not as kind of underpowered as we thought they'd be, and all that. So cool. Zoro can do some stuff. But then Usopp, after like running away for long enough, finally gets captured, taken back.
His biggest defense is just to run.
Yeah, well...
No one can catch this guy. No one can catch it. Like, he's done all his training back on his island just to be the fastest whip in the world. And like, even the biggest baddies just can't get him.
Well, that's the big turning point he has in this arc of finally stopping to run away.
That's it. Yeah, it is big.
He has that moment of just like he won't believe it until like literally the last second and that's also when the Arlong Pirates kind of be like, ugh. But then she realizes she has to do something dramatic. It does like the fake stab to Usopp, and it's like, man, I remember watching that for the first time and being like, holy moly, for like this, like just the few minutes before Usopp kind of rocks back up, because they make it look really real. Like he's bleeding and falling to the bottom of the thing. I'm like, all right, somebody's going to come save him and all that. But then he ends up at Nojiku's.
So Nojiku
runs into her.
Nojiku is the adopted step-sister of Nami. And is this where
so they're both adopted?
Yeah, both adopted. Do they talk about the backstory as to how these kids? Okay, all right.
Not yet. So you get hints, and you get because she doesn't want to reveal Nami's story either at this stage.
Yep.
Like because like the facade needs to. Well, we'll learn later. The facade needs to keep up, so like the plan will work.
Yep.
And he does see the pictures of Nami as a kid and all that,
starting to connect.
Yeah, and then you also get, like, our first kind of, like, nearly setting you up straight away for it, where, like, the line that Usopp says to Nojiku when he says, "You're pretty nice for a person with tattoos."
Yeah.
And like setting up that like prejudice and of like, because like that's still a big thing in Japan.
Yeah, in Japan,
like
the tattoos,
and all that. So that's
it.
a tie-in with that. But also like, just because somebody's got a tattoo, wink, wink,
Yep.
like Nami, doesn't mean that they're not like
the stereotype connotations that come with it. Yeah,
and like
100%.
that's literally like the line for all of like One Piece of like.
But it's pretty interesting, like, well, and so, like, sorry to butt in, but, like, again, the tattoo sort of thing, like, from my knowledge and looking at this, and I didn't really look at this too heavily until this arc, this is probably the first time you actually see tattoos in the whole thing.
Yep.
So, like, yeah, again, it sort of stands out that someone's got a tattoo, and the first person to have a tattoo that you see is the Najiku.
Nami?
Well,
no, Nami's first.
But do you see it? Because you always see the shirt. You never actually see the
No, where
tattoo.
she shows Zoro in like the second episode of this arc, where she like, and that's where the Zoro goes like, "Nah, I don't believe it." And that's when he does his big jump back because it's Arlong's like, because he looks
Does
up.
he know
and
what
looks
it
at,
is? He doesn't know who Arlong is.
He
he would,
doesn't
'cause
until he looks up and sees Arlong's flag, and it's the same symbol as the tattoo because that's where he's captured.
Because I was thinking, because he was like obviously a pirate hunter when they first met him, whether he would know, because obviously it's a tattoo of the
He
Jolly
probably
Roger.
knows who Arlong is because that's what like they think Zoro's there for in the first place. Like he's just a pirate hunter coming to get it. And it's only when Usopp rocks up and it's another person from this crew that's when they start getting real like.
Okay. So you got Nejiku showing off, like, she's got the tattoos, and she's got a lot more tattoos, like, all over her
And
body.
you do, we'll talk about it here because I'll probably forget about it later. Ooh. You learn that she got the tattoos to make Nami not feel bad about getting her tattoo. She got
her tattoo, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of
and it's like, see?
Yep.
I got the stuff. All right, so that's that episode. We start... That's when like you have now the foundation. So now they're going to start building the house for you. So we got Johnny. He tells the remaining Straw Hats about Nami killing Usopp because he saw it through the little like thing.
He saw it.
And like Luffy's like, no,
I don't believe it. Yeah.
And not even like I can't believe it, but like literally as in like straight facts, as in like a god himself being like, nope, that's not how it happened.
Yeah.
Nope. And like. That's where you start to see, as I've talked about off podcast, where like once Luffy judges a character, he has so much faith in his own abilities to judge a character, and I think he's never been wrong in all of One Piece yet. Like I don't think anyone's like fully betrayed him, and there's been people that like have pushed him to the limit, and he's like, nope. I know there's something else going on. I don't believe it. I'm gonna sit here until you come back and stuff like. That's all I'm gonna say without spoiling stuff. But for the people that know what I'm referencing, that's all I'm saying. But yeah, he fully believes in his character evaluation and like whatever is happening here. There's more to it and all that, and because even a little bit in this episode, like. They're like, oh, do you like this happened and blah blah. No, this is Nami's backstory. He's like, I don't care. Like, what does that change? Like, who cares who she was, what she did in the past? Like, I know who Nami is now, and that's all that matters. And
it's interesting, like especially in a couple of early episodes of this arc for Luffy, this is one where Oda from the storytelling has him really reserved. Like he's very quiet, he's very reserved. It's almost like he's sort of
it's scary.
And it's really different from all the other arcs, all the episodes where he's in there, he's doing silly stuff, he's in the thick of things, he's creating situations to lead to outcomes. Where this is, he's just like he's almost like a spectator. He's really he's taken a step back and he's watching everything. Where people are sort of like even looking at Luffy, going, "Are you going to take action here?" And he's no, and he's just absolutely reserved. And like that leads up to part of it as well.
Yeah, this is where you start to see that like. How Oda kind of gets around the stereotype of like the white knight, and not only in the concept of like how the internet has spun it these days of like the man's got to save the woman, but also like the movie trope where like a white person will come in and save the natives because they haven't been able to save themselves.
Yeah.
And not really because like they've asked for help, but it's just because like I'm here and I'm a hero, I will save you and all that. It's like Because in a lot of there's a big line. Actually, I'll go straight to it. Where after it all plays out and all that, and they're having the kind of celebration meal in the village after everything plays out. There's a quick moment between Nezuko and the boy from the start, where she's talking to him about it all, and she's like, "Oh, I thought you'd be a bit more like this or like that, or like," and he's like, "I'm not happy and sad. I'm not happy about this." Because my parents aren't back, but I'm not going to be sad about it because this isn't it. Like, this isn't finished. Like, even though we are saved, we are back to, his words are, even though we are saved, we are back to the start. We're at square one. Like, we still need to build this village and repair everything and all that. Like, just because these people came in and helped us, it ain't over for us.
Yeah, now we can move forward. We can actually start to rebuild,
not even that. It's just like everything's destroyed. We have nothing. We're gonna have to rebuild our lives. Like it's not a happy or a sad moment because
no one's gonna deliver that except for ourselves now.
Yeah, and it really shows that that's what happens when the white knight trope comes in, because if you weren't able to kind of save yourselves in the first place, how are you going to keep looking after yourself, or how do you stop that happening again and all that? And it's and that's what Luffy does in all these scenarios. He doesn't just come in and save everybody. He sets them up, and as you mentioned, of most of the time he's up to this thing, he's come in and been whacking a wild because that's what that scenario needed.
Yeah.
Usopp needed to get off the island, and Sanji needed to leave that place. It's not that place needed saving. It did because an external event happened as he was there, but that wasn't the problem before Luffy got there. The problem was these people are stuck in a place where they're not living out their dreams and they're not having fun and all that. So Luffy comes in and shows them what adventure and fun and all that is about. Well, Nami doesn't need that here. She doesn't need to do that. She needs to figure out how to break her prison that she has encased herself in to save these other people.
That's the only sole purpose that she has in life. Until she reaches that goal, she has nothing else to live for. And
he doesn't want to be what she is doing for them.
Yeah.
Because if he comes in and saves her, that's what she's trying to do for them, but is just sacrificing herself to save them. And that's what Luffy will be doing if he comes in and just fights it all and fights their battles for them. All right, we'll catch up a bit. Blah, blah, blah. No, sense of the blood. Yep, we did that. Oh, yeah. So Johnny talks about that. Luffy insists that he will stay on the island, though, because he bumps into Nami and she's like, leave, go away. This is not for you. And he's like, yet again, another moment where he knows more than what he gives on, because
intuitively he knows. And again, this is the whole spectator part. I don't know whether he's literally sitting under that tree. There's those scenes where it's almost like Sanji. You got Sanji, Zoro, and Luffy, and all these things are happening in the episodes. Things are happening with the village people. Things are happening with Nami. Things are happening with the fishmen. But these three are just sort of spectating, and it's almost like they know their boundaries, and they don't want to come in here and start doing things without a consent, without the okay to get involved.
And he just falls asleep. Because and it seems like a joke and a gag and all that, because that is around Luffy and his eventual family when you meet them all, that they just fall asleep at weird moments. But also that de-escalates the scenario that was about to happen. If he was there, there's no argument to it would have agitated her, or she would have fought back, or fought to get them off the island, or something, all scenarios would have spun out to bad resolutions. But him being I fall asleep on the ground, at first I think he was pretending, and then he eventually actually falls asleep because it's Luffy and it needs to be funny. But that, she's can't get mad because it's dumb Luffy falling asleep. So it's fine.
And it's the typical frustration. And again, I think it's really good storytelling. It's really good storytelling of a slow burn pushback, where someone is frustrated, someone's got a lot going on, a little bit left field from the main protagonist on it. But again, just that slow burn of it just makes that one moment even more powerful, as we see.
Because a lot of us have done a lot of therapy over the years and all that. That's a lot of what therapists will do. when you get to a state in an argument where like you are beyond the point of like actually having constructive conversations, like that's when people are supposed to go away from each other and come back to that, you know, point of the argument or discussion and all that. And like that's what that scenario was. Like 100% she was way too kind of involved and emotional and all that. Not because, like, you know, all that stuff, but she's literally, like, her family and village and all that are on the point of probably getting killed because her perfect thing that she's set up to this moment is about to kind of fracture. And then it's this person that's trying to help, but it's going to make it all worse. And yeah, him falling asleep just de-escalates the scenario. And as we see later on, they come back to that conversation with a bit more, yeah, she is a bit more emotional, but stable emotional in a sense, but it's a good thing. And also, like, this is also where we see Sanji's less creepier side, where he also, because like Zoro's kind of like, I know she's not bad, but also I'm pissed off about all this kind of scenario, because we'll see in a lot later arcs, like he is the kind of like non-emotional rudder of the ship, as in, because there will be scenarios later down the line where everyone does get emotionally involved and he is actually the voice of reason, where it's like, I don't care if this person is doing this for X emotional reasons because it is still hurting us.
Yeah, he can stay emotionally disconnected.
Yeah, when he needs to be, because he gets emotional.
No.
But he is the voice of reason when situations do get emotional, because like, in a non-biased scenario, this person has told us not to interfere and not to be on the island, so we should leave. Yep. And that's kind of his way of expressing it, of like, come on, guys, they've told us to go. But he also doesn't see the deeper layers. And, like, that's where, like, Sanji goes, like, her heart was crying. Like I could see her, like, holding back stuff and all that. And that's where, like, with the combinedness of Luffy and Sanji, you kind of been like, oh, come on, all right, what's going on? And this is also where we get another, like, weird thing that is set up way down the line, but where another, I think he's a captain, maybe? I don't know, another Navy crew actually rocks up to the scenario to be like, nope, no pirates on the island, and, like, let's get rid of Arlong and all that. That's where we actually get to see a test of the strength of what fishermen can actually do, where like they destroy the ship in a very Mihawk quick fashion of like, oh, this crew, yes, they're not an individual person like Mihawk, but like they can do the same kind of damage nearly as quick as Mihawk did to that ship. Okay.
Because like unlike the other enemies that we've seen previously, these ones obviously have got like the skill and the talent in the water. They can attack where others can't defend. But these guys are dodgy as. These Marines, they're like super dodgy.
This guy was actually good. Because he wasn't part of the rat crew and all that. This is another guy that's rocked up. Yeah. And he mentions the Navy line by like a lot of captains, where it's like, my brand of justice. And I can't remember which brand of justice he mentions, but it actually becomes a very big character trait for a lot of the major figures of the Navy, where my brand of justice is like, it's like dodgy.
Dodgy.
So like I will hunt down things that are dodgy and all that. Okay. And I am unbridled justice. Like, there's only black and white, and like every admiral and captain and vice captain has a brand of justice, and that's their brand of justice. Yeah, okay. Because it ties into a lot of like different versions of the law. Like most of us are all upstanding members of society, but I'm pretty sure there's once or twice some of us might have sped, or this or that, or everyone pushes or breaks a little bit of the law depending on how they feel that
where the blur line is. That's it. Yeah.
And then so like each one of the captains and admirals later on will have their kind of like hard or soft, or I see the grey justice and I do this or this and stuff like that. So this is actually I didn't even realize brand of justice was
I didn't even think that was
this early, because every admiral will have their brand of justice on their back. It will say blah blah justice and stuff. Yeah.
cool.
It's a big thing. I know. That's why I was
Yeah,
like,
right.
whoa, Brand of
You
Justice.
definitely
I
don't
didn't
pick
even
that
know
up. Like, on the first watch through,
No.
looking at this, you don't think of anything.
He's a
like
blow-away character that we never see ever again. So I think he
you go.
even dies, and they just
that.
don't mention it. So.
Oh, okay. Too
Well,
easy. Yeah, clearly, because they destroy his ship and you don't see him
Yeah, and
again.
and we never see those bodies or anything like that. So where did they go? Because most of the time when somebody gets knocked out, like they'll swim to shore and stuff like that. So
This
I'm
one,
pretty sure they're all dead.
ate him.
All right, but Nojiko then starts to actually do before Luffy goes, "No, don't care," and walks away. I think he walks away and goes for a walk at this stage.
Yeah.
He's not even there which is just wild.
It's
that
just,
he
that's
never
why it's so
actually
weird.
knows-
He's so disconnected from it.
Yeah, because he and that's what makes the scene later when
Yeah.
he is actually in her navigator room. Why it's more bigger to him, because this actually is the first time he learns about all this stuff. Because he walks away when Nojiko starts telling, oh, this is Nami's backstory.
Yeah.
All right, so this is where we start learning about Bellemere, which is actually a very cool character.
I
Because
like
this
Bellemere.
is kind
Bellemere's awesome.
Oh man, when she does her barrel roll thing out the door and is holding the gun on Arlong, fucking oof.
Yeah,
But
that's awesome. Just to have a
She
female
bring-
protagonist, she's awesome.
she brings a lot of world building, though, I think, that we don't give enough credit for, where she's an ex-Marine. Why doesn't she stay a Marine to look after the kids and all that? Because we know a lot of Marines in the future have kids and all those kind of things. So
Yep. And this is the episode where they actually talk about how Bellemere gets introduced to the two girls.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so she finds them on a bat. It's very hinted, but I think it's not the right story that, she's a terror like Nami was when she was a kid and all that. And then she eventually joins up with the pirates and says, all of these pirates need to be eradicated. And then it flicks to the battle. And I'm I think it's supposed to make you think they're fighting pirates
Yeah, okay.
in that battle. But there actually is a bit of a disconjoin between her, him talking about and her talking about it, and then also the battle where there's people in jail vests and stuff like that. And I'm knowing more about the future, know about future episodes and what the government's been how the government actually acts. And this looks like the government actually have come in and this is a war zone and is wiping out a country. That's more what it looks like this, especially because she takes the kids and leaves the Navy. So
That's right. Because the kids, the backstory there is you just see the kids sort of wandering, and it's Nami finding.
No, Nojiko finding.
Oh, Nojiko
Bellemere
finding Bellemere
and holding a baby.
the baby. That's right.
Yeah,
So
which is Nami.
Nojiko is a little girl, maybe 5 years old, and then
this is something that I
Nami's
forget
baby.
after. Yeah, after each rewatch of we still don't know the backstory about all this. Who. What
Well, you don't know where the parents are. Yeah, the death of
if
the
you're
parents.
just fighting pirates, this doesn't seem
I didn't feel like it was Marines versus pirates. I just thought it was Marines versus bad guys, but not pirates. Could have been anyone, sort of thing.
And we this is pure speculation, so this is not me spoiling anything for the future, any listeners and stuff like that. I reckon it's this is setting the ground of yep, we know the Marines aren't that good, so maybe the world government's not that good because the world government have done some heinous stuff. Even in reality, our in commas good governments and good countries have done very heinous stuff in other countries and all that in the concept of the greater good. So I wonder if this is still one thing that Oda's got in his back pocket that's going to be oh, this is a big blah, 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 blah. And it's oh.
I think he just wants you to think. So Bellemere's in the war. Bellemere finds these kids.
Yeah.
And then how does that end? She comes back.
She takes them back and she is they're both very ill and sick. And so she's very ill and sick as well. And they're no, we need to look after you. And she's no, I'll die. Just make sure the kids are done. And then this is where I think we mentioned it we definitely mentioned it in the last arc, but I've mentioned a few times of one of the big underlining kind of stories of One Piece is the found family.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. that's a running theme through the whole thing.
Oh,
I think you've
it
got like
is.
again, you've got your Sanji with like the Baratie family. You've got the chore boy. What's his name? Was from the very start. Who's our friend? That ends up joining the Marines.
Oh no! Why would you say this to me?
What's his name? I gave him so much shit.
Oh man, not I have Kenny in my head for some
Kobe.
reason. And
Is
it's
it
not-
Kobe?
Kobe. Yep,
Kobe.
there we go.
Like say
It's 'cause
Kobe
it's a
joining the
scene.
Marines, and then you like
Yes.
that sort of develops as that goes on. So, and even
Yep.
just the crew itself. This is the one arc that I felt like along the way. You've got Luffy. He's building his crew, and he's slowly bringing.
But
these
he's building his
characters.
family.
Yeah, he is. But these family members are coming in, these family members are coming in to be like, well, I have a dream or I have a goal, and I know I'm probably going to be in a better spot to ride with you to achieve this goal. But this is the one arc where, like, again, in the early stage, this is the one arc where I feel like they put all that aside and they just become unified. They're doing it for the common cause versus the individuals, which is really, like, again, I opened something up here because I'm a bit further on in the series now, but Zoro has this conversation, and I forget who it was. I think it's through Vivi or someone else, where Vivi's sort of talking, and no one knows who Vivi is because at this stage, but they're having this conversation about Zoro going like, you're all so weird, you're all so different. How did you all come to be, and how are you on the same crew? And I think, I don't know whether it's Zoro having the conversation or whether it's Nami, but they're sort of just saying like, to work together, it's okay that you like are very different and you have your own separate goals. But I think it makes us so unique that we can come together in those moments. I'll paraphrase it to the shit, but like at the end of the day, you get to the vibe.
Well,
of
it's
going,
a future episode, so we'll be able to talk about it again when we get there. Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
I derailed you, mate. You go ahead.
No, it is perfect. Like, because they know if they support Luffy, Luffy will support their dreams. Like that, they all know if they support Luffy's dream to become the Pirate King, because he in tow will use every goddamn effort of himself to help make sure their dreams come true. Not do it for them, but enable them completely 100% to be able to be on the path to achieve their dreams. And that's yeah, like as we mentioned earlier, like Luffy never does things for people. He shows them how they can do it themselves. He won't come save them ever. He will help them always. This is where you get the tangerine fields. We call back to all of our little breadcrumbs leading up, especially even us. We talked about it in an episode where Nami goes, I only like money and tangerine.
That's right. And you're like, what a random combo.
This is the huge payoff of like, her like adopted mum has the tangerine farm, and that all they used to eat is tangerines because they were so poor. All they ate was tangerine. And then you get that big moment where she's like, no, you're not my real sister. And that's when like Bellamere gets a bit heated, hits her. Probably not the best, but like she realizes it herself as well. Like, oh no, like, oops, I shouldn't have done that. But also like how much it means that they are actually a family, like all that they've gone through. And then that's when, Nami goes to town, and that's when she does get told about her backstory of like how, Bellamere found her and all those, and sacrificing her sick. And then that bonds can go deeper than family. Like family doesn't, I'm sure there's some viewers out there that have family members that like wish they weren't a part of, not because like, crazy, but like, like you can love people more than you love family, because unfortunately you don't get to choose family, but like people in your life that you want to make your family, like you chose, like that's why like a wedding is a big thing, because that person was not blood related to you. You found that person and wanted them to become part of your family. Yeah. In the same way of like adoption and all those kind of things. Like pretty like it wasn't official, but like Sanji was adopted. Yeah. By Red Leg. Like straight up. Like and it's a you get to see these things.
Very strong theme through this whole thing.
Yeah, very like I chose you. Like I didn't just like get you. Like I chose. Like I wanted to be your family. Yeah. Like you can't say otherwise. Like unfortunately, like you can have your goblins in your head telling you otherwise, but I chose you to be my daughter, and chose both of you to be my sister, to be sisters and all that. And it's heavy because it's not just like I had sex and had a kid. It's just like no, like I saw you and I wanted to look after you. I wanted to sacrifice my life to look after you.
And it's such good storytelling, like how this is portrayed. Like, again, like with the Sanji and the Red Leg, like how that sort of relationship, they gave so much banter to each other. You would think, like, through the language and, you know, everything they did, like smashing each other up. Like, and that's why that end episode, like Baratie, where they're sort of both breaking down more Sanji, that hits home because you know there's deep bonds.
Yeah, they were being like,
bond.
especially in the late 90s when it came out, they were being boys with each other. You know, boys will be boys.
But this is the different. Like, this is a mum to daughters. You know, and this is where, like, it hits hard on that family home.
Which leads us into the next episode where it gets real, where, like, One Piece kind of breaks its rule of not killing people. And this is, like, one of our big
deaths. Like, death yet. No, we had one death. Like, Shanks shoots the dude.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not really, no one knows who that dude was.
But also that is a big moment, even though we don't know about that, because that makes Shanks really real, because it becomes after the bar scene where you're like, oh, he's just jokey little
he's just a
pirate.
larrikin, and all of a sudden he gets
and it's
real
like,
serious.
no, he is fully serious when it's like, you are yet again.
But this is the death scene where they actually, it is to a person where you actually, like, in a short period of time, you genuinely care. Yeah.
Yes. So, Nojiko continues the story, explaining how their family life was ruined when the Arlong Pirates finally took over the village. So Arlong arrives. He starts taking bribes from everybody for them to live. It's like $50
per person,
$50,000 for
every year,
one person, and then multiple for multiple people.
And then so it's like 50 for is it like 50 for an adult and 25 for every kid?
No, I think it was 100 for an adult and 50 per
50
kid.
A kid, yeah, that's right.
Because I'm pretty sure it was 200 for Bellamere and the kid.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's right. And because obviously they got tangerines, they don't have that money, and so this is where they sort of lie. They wanted to. Everyone was saying, just lie. We'll lie with you that you don't have the kids.
Yeah, because the village themselves grab the kids and be like, do not go out to Bellamere. Because, like, when he notices the smoke coming from Bellamere's cabin, they head up there, and that's when, like, you notice the village straight up already trying to protect them, as in, like, they've nearly become the kids of the village.
Yes.
Yeah, then we get the cool fucking Bellamere moment where she just, like, Commander rolls out on top of Arlong. Unfortunately, Arlong is a fisherman.
Yeah.
No, it's like a full rifle.
Yeah, in the rifle in the mouth. Yeah. That smashes through his teeth.
Yeah, but then what's-her-name bites it because he's a goddamn shark. So, but then she starts, like, unbeknown to her, like, the kids are, you know, within ear's reach and all that, like, their village, and she's like, no, it's just me for now, blah, blah. And then that's when, like, the villagers, like, we're going to sneak you on a boat to get you out of here. Like, we're getting you off the island. And that's when, like, it hits Nami hard because, like, she's just had that, like, you know, everybody probably in their life of telling their parents they hate them and all those kind of stuff because you're a kid and you haven't got control of your emotional functions and all that properly. So you tell your parents you hate them. But then in this scenario, like, she's going to leave the island without telling her mum that, no, I don't think that about you. I love you. You're my mum and all that. But then she overhears, like, oh, no, I don't have kids. And, like, that wrecks her. Thinking, not as a kid, not understanding the scenario of, like, what is actually at stake, what's going on. And that's when she, like, starts bawling. And I don't even think Bellamere hears her at all. Like, that's my kind of mindset because it doesn't really look like she does. But then, like, Bellamere is like, no, I'm not disavowing my kids, even if it cost me my life. And a true, like, you have kids, so you would probably hit you a lot harder of, like, no, I would rather I die than me disavowing my kids and saying I don't have kids.
That's it.
And it's, oh man, that's the first one. It, like, wrecks you already. And then that's when, like, the kids run out and she's like, yep, I'm going to take the bullet for them and all that. And the kid's still not understanding what's going on. And that's what hurts even more, that they don't know. And that they do know that, like, she's saying I have kids even in a dangerous scenario, but they don't understand until, like, a few seconds later, like, what that really meant. And I think that's what sets Nami up in the next couple of scenes of, like, oh, I know what was, I kind of grew up very quickly in those 30 seconds of, like, I understand what actually happened just now and all that kind of stuff. And that's when she goes and gets the tattoo and all that. But I want the little quote that she had where she leaves the message for, God, what's his name again?
Genzo.
And also, I think she says it to the kids as well, but I don't think they're old enough to understand it. But like, she wants them to not have hate in this era, in this new era of the world and all that. And it seemed, and that kind of hints back to her, like, you know, her origin story of like that war of, so maybe it was something big that happened leading to this new era and all that. I want you to smile. Like, I want you to be happy, and not 90s and earlier men telling women to smile, but actually, like, I want you to smile because you're happy and all that. Like, I don't want you to have hate in your heart. I don't want you to hate people. I don't want you to hate events. I don't want you to hate what happened and all that. And oh, man, big thing of, like, yeah, I just want my kids to be happy and all that. And yet again, like, setting it back to, like, that big thing of, like, yeah, they're not even related. It's found family and how much love, and setting up these kids that she wants to, like, do and all that. And oh man, but this is also where you start world building for future kind of like fisherman stuff, where like the way Arlong talks about humans, where he calls them inferior species and
very
all those
heavily
kind of stuff
down.
like, yeah, this is like where your first kind of hints of like, oh, Oda's going to talk about racism and all that kind of stuff. And at first in this arc, it's not that it's done bad. It's just done as very like shallowy, and like most movies are feeling like, you're not my thingy. Yeah. I don't like you.
There's a lot of like, like I'm the like you're the inferior. We're the alpha beings. Yeah. That's it. Mm-hmm. Constant talk about that. Yep.
Yes, which will get these are big world things for when we eventually learn about the history of fishermen and actually go to where they're from and all those kind of things. This also, Nami also joining the pirates, and then we get to see like a little like, you know, montage of her life, and you realize she's been doing what she's been doing since she was 8 years old.
So we talk about Bellamere. Do you want to talk about what happens to Bellamere?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, man, the shot is...
Yeah, the shot's horrific, and they really set it up emotionally.
And it's played down in the anime, too. They shoot her in the belly in the anime. They shoot her square in the face. In
do they shoot her in the belly? I thought they shoot her in the head, but they have, like, that silhouette view to it.
No, like, where the gun is pointing, it's more towards, like, a chest, stomach kind of region.
Okay, that's
and, like, I'm pretty sure the blood doesn't come out of there. But, in the manga, it's like, headshot.
Yeah, because Arlong, and like that's when you know he's a real badass. Like he talks a lot, but this is the first time. Like he's brutal actions. He's just like, nah, I'm not copping this. Bang.
But not
with the kids.
But not as like insane as what's the cat guy that you like him a lot. Captain.
But he's like
where he kills his own crew. Which is what I'm going to allude to a little bit later.
Yep.
Where I'll tie it in now. During the fight with Luffy and Arlong, there's a moment where Luffy grabs one of the fishermen when like Arlong's like trying to bite him with his little like claws in his hand, and it bites the fisherman instead.
Yeah, okay.
And he's like, "How could you make me do that to one of my brothers?" and all that. And this is where you first kind of see this like, oh, the pirates don't always hate their crews, and they're not evil in that kind of sense, because like. Whatever his name is from Baratie Arc, he was like, oh, I'll kill anyone in my way. And even the cat guy as well, he was like, yep, don't care, hate you, kill you, and all that. Buggy's...
Captain Kuro,
that's it.
That's right.
Yeah. And Buggy's a mixed cake.
Buggy's in the name. He's just he's a crazy character.
Yeah, he's a crazy clown. Yeah. But this is like even more world building of like, he... is only racist toward, like, he's only evil towards humans.
Yep.
Where, like, there's this, like, actual racism and all that. And this is kind of where your first inklings of all this stuff. And this is when we get the flashback to normal time and when everything's, you know, chaos and running around and, like,
do we talk about Nami as in... I don't know whether it's the next episode, but like how Nami makes the deal with...
This is only later.
Okay. Gotcha.
You don't actually... She just says to Nojiko that she's joined her crew at this stage.
Okay.
You don't actually get the deal till later.
Gotcha.
But the little moment that I want to talk about, you have Genzo with the Marines, they're coming in, which is about to set up the events of the next episode, but Luffy, he goes, and you instantly are like, oh, yeah, oh, fuck, he's scared of the Marines, oh, yeah. And then next minute, he's like, the pinwheel.
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
Fuck me. After all the seriousness we've had this episode, the last 2 episodes, and, like, we click back to, like, Oda uses him, like, as an idiot, but also kind of like, I know I just gave you something real heavy, and I want to kind of, like, chill yous out a bit.
Yeah, change the tone.
That was, because I need to bring it back to modern where we're about to have a wacky fight with Rubber Man fighting a Shark Man. And he does it so naturally, but then also ties it in because that's a move that he's going to use later on. And,
yeah, it's a good character to do it as well. Like, again, I look back at your Narutos, your Dragon Balls, and you always sort of have those sort of characters that you can play on with the story to shift that tone, but then bring it right back where it needs to.
This is where we get the big setup scene. The Marine officer gets taken to Nami and Nojiko's house. He starts digging up the treasure, and then Nami and as soon as he mentions the actual amount and where it is, she instantly knows. And Nojiko gets shot. She actually gets shot in the stomach in the manga, instead of in the arm. We get Luffy's new move. He does his little pinwheel. Spin.
I like that because, again, we talked about that in the last episode where his sort of attacks are evolving and he sort of takes inspiration of, like, the things as it comes through, like the whole pinwheel bit.
Keep that in your brain. It's something we cannot talk about for another 1,000 episodes. Yeah.
Well,
just keep that
again,
in
it's
your
the
brain.
breadcrumbs bit, you know? Like, I think that's the mindset where Oda's sort of done the pinwheel, and then he's like, I got a new move. Like, and then you're like, oh, okay, put it together.
And here's the moment. Here's the moment we talked about earlier. This is the big Arlong. So first we get she does run to Arlong's himself. And then that's when you do get the flashback of, like, what the deal was.
So this is when she was young, and then this was when...
100 million.
Yeah, okay. 100 million.
And you can have back the village, and she's like, how do I believe you? And he's like, you have my word and all that. And then that flicks back to modern times where she's there, and she's like, you broke your word, blah, blah, blah. And then he does the big, huge, like... And this is when you kind of... The past Arlong that we got to saw and how vicious he was links up with current, because current one has been pretty joyful and, you know, dumb and stuff like that. And all these interactions with that Usopp moment and all that. Yeah. But then he, like, grabs her by the throat and holds her up by her throat and goes, what? What deal did I break?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
What deal?
And we should say this, like, he emphasizes all the way through that, like, he cannot break his bond. He cannot break his word. It's the one thing that... When he talks about treasure, he's an absolute piece of shit. But when it comes to promising, where treasure's involved, he will never go back on his word, and he constantly says that. Do we need to also talk about what she actually brings to the table? Like, why does Arlong want her in the crew?
I think we do get revealed. No, he after he throws her away and she runs off, they ask her, like why? Like. Were you ever? And he's like, nah, she's my navigator. Like she's, and then we do get all the flashes, a little bit of more flashes of her doing like we saw it in the flashes with Bellamere where she was like drawing the ship, the islands and all those kind of things. But this one's like once she draws the whole ocean for me, then I'll let her go. And then they all laugh and say, oh, that won't be for like 100 years or something like that. And then you realize of like, yep, he's not letting her go. Like, he won't break her bond, but he'll find ways to get out of the
reset.
Deal, in a
sense.
sense.
That's it.
Yeah. And then that's where she kind of runs back into town, and because Genzo was there during the, like, you know, digging up the orchard field. I mean, orchard, is it still called an orchard for tangerines? I don't know.
I don't know.
Tangerine fields. He's roused up the village, and they're like, nope, we knew it was probably going to go wrong, but we wanted to do it for you, Nami, because you were...
Yeah, the village knows the whole backstory. And they know it from the day dot, like how much of a burden that she has carried since she's been extremely young.
Because there was no other way.
Yeah, there was no other way
they knew
keep
it
everyone safe.
And I'm sure, like, the village that was about to sneak those kids out, if there was any other way, they would have done it.
But this is where the village basically goes, like, we're prepared to die. Like we're at a point
we
now-
know we're gonna die.
That's right.
That's why up until this point we haven't done anything, because it would just be sacrificing ourselves. But now we realize even your method's not gonna work.
That's it.
Now.
There's no escape.
So we might as well, rather than being caged birds, we would rather go out fighting. And then she realizes, like not only has all of her work for the last what is she? I think she's 16, so 8 years. I think
8 years.
Yeah, for the last 8 years is now fallen apart. It's never going to happen. On top of that, the village is all going to go kill themselves.
Yeah, they're literally marching down to their death. Yeah.
Her found family is all going to die, and having the re-memories of Bellamere and all that happening, and how much that destroyed her seeing one person die, and now all of them are about to go in and die. Like Genzo and all of those people.
Everyone that she
love
holds
her so
dear,
much.
she feels like she's
her treasures are all going to die.
Yeah.
And she breaks, understandably. Like no human could
It's like she's been withholding all of this pressure for so long, keeping so strong for all these years, and it's just in that moment she just breaks. The strongest person so far that you've seen in the whole series, breaks.
And that's God,
and that is
Oda
a
does
brutal scene.
Knowing people that have self-harmed in their lives and all that, it is an intense moment. And unfortunately, she has a target for her one, because she has the tattoo, and so it is a target for all this emotion and rage and everything. And then just
The flashbacks when she does it,
scene.
it is intense. But at the same time, what he's able to do in that scene with everything's falling apart, everything that she's worked so hard to, here's all these people marching off to their death that absolutely love her, to die for her, so to speak. She has no control whatsoever. She's been trying to hold everything together.
That will free her.
Yep.
And so she can leave the island. If they all die, it's still a win for them in their minds, because if they die, then there is nothing holding her to this island anymore, and she can go with Luffy.
And then she just has that. She just looks at she has that moment where she's just absolutely in tears.
She just starts screaming Arlong and stabbing.
Yeah, and then she just grabs the knife. She stabs her arm, and she's stabbing that tattoo. And it's just not
trying
one
to
or
get
two.
rid of it.
And it's just that moment where she goes to that last stab, and then someone grabs her hand. And then it's that moment there. That's when it really hits you. Like that moment where you have someone. And even to that point, sorry to jump in, but that moment where she's doing this, that Luffy grabs her hand, and then she looks up and it's Luffy, and that they don't show his eyes. It's that whole darkness, and she's to the very end, she's just go away. She's throwing sand,
sand at him.
All this stuff. She's just no, you can't do it.
Up until the point where there's
hate
nothing left in her anymore.
Yeah.
She empties herself emotionally, and then just
and that
has
scene
the
where she
second break.
looks over her shoulder and just absolute tears and just says, "Luffy, help me." And that moment there,
and not save me, help me. God, fuck yeah, Oda.
And just that,
because he could have easily written that as "save me," and doesn't, because that's not what they are, and that's not who they are. Anybody, man,
and that's why the language in this is so important.
Yes.
So important to get it right to how he wants it. And so again, you pick up that to help me, not to save me. And just that moment, it's dead silent. It's so powerful. And the fact
and then what happens literally seconds after that makes it even more powerful, because we get another set of flashbacks. Because Luffy puts his hat on her head. And watching this as a non-knower of it all and all that, you would have seen that moment. And now you understand, because then it flashes through all the moments of Luffy being this is my treasure, and this is my thing. So I'm gonna help you, but I want you to hold on to my treasure. That's how much I trust you. You are not useless. You are holding on to my treasure as well, while I go help you with your treasure.
Just that level of comfort. And how there's nothing said, there's no eyes, you can't even breathe the emotion because all
she says back is Luffy, because after she realizes you see the flashbacks of his treasure, and not only are you about to help me, but you're entrusting me with your treasure, and then after you wipe all your eyes away, fuck, you get one of the sickest moments ever, because you get bump, boom,
and this is but looking at that, we can't, and because this is the scene that I think everyone looks at, including me, And without the context, without the build-up, without the understanding of what she's going through, how much pushback and everything, and the breaking point. And then obviously the symbolism between like the hat, the comfort, it's done so well where he puts the hat on her head and then turns the other way and just has that whole like screams with his arms flying into the air, the whole like, of course I will. And that's the Japanese part, like the Japanese translation from what it said in the subtitles is, of course I will. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the English version, and I should have looked at this before this, but it was something like, I don't think it's of course I will. It's like, I will or yes I will. It just wasn't as powerful, but of course I will.
Of course. Like, your family, your friends, your everything. Yeah.
And the fact that like, he just goes like, of course I will. And then he's got Usopp, he's got Sanji, he's got Zoro, all sitting there ready to go.
Oh, just
walks off, and then he's like, just this starts to build up, you know. And once he says, "We're going for it," and they just go, "Yes," like, "Yes, Captain." And it's the first moment where you see these individuals just go from themselves to a unified group, and they just go off. And that this is where even this song, even though they've played it, you know, before, we've already played this before in this previous episodes, but this is where like the emotions like run high with this soundtrack and song to it. It's just incredible.
And kicking down that door as well. And that's where the episode ends.
Oh no, I like, but even I don't know if it's before that, but even when you've got Johnny and his other mate, the other two pirates. Oh, that's
right. They're stopping all of the
and so like all the villagers come, and then those two are like, no, we can't let you go through.
We're waiting.
Like, we're waiting for our guys to come in and bash.
B characters know what's about to go on.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. The side characters in all these arcs are so good. That's what I mean. Where like, you'll have slow moments in arcs and sagas and all that, but like the friends you meet, like, it's such a stereotypical thing, but the friends you meet along the way are the treasures. And it's like, yes, like the ones later on that you find, like the camel, it's like, I forget about that character until I get back to that arc. And I'm like, these are the friends you make along the way. And it's like, even if they are friends that drift in and out of your life, they are special. And like, Oda has a way of writing them that, like, these background-ass characters are important to you 100%. When you're in those episodes with them. And it's like,
it's so good.
It's like, yeah, they part ways pretty much after this arc, and it's just like, you're sad, but not in a, like, no, because, like, you contributed so much to these things, but not enough to be, like, permanent.
No. But this is where you go crazy. This is where you get emotionally attached to this crew. This is where you get emotionally attached to Luffy. He's your captain. You know, he's your ride or die. Like, you're emotionally invested. And I think this is where a lot of people, to this moment, I think they're like, I'm invested. Like, you've hit me really hard in that lead up.
Because there's another kind of repeat of this kind of, not nowhere near like bar for bar, but like same kind of, you know, and it's even better when you think back to this one, because Nami gets to be in the bump crew for this future person, and has nearly the exact same moment where they're just like, no, and then they have like a big like, yep, this thing, and then all the crew are like, yep, well, we're here, of course.
And that music just sounds like it's just friends rolling out for friends. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A friend needs help. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Not to be saved, like you said, but needs help, and they're just like, help is on the way.
Yeah.
No more questioning.
Of course.
No more asking. I'm here. And they just roll out.
All you have to do is ask. And that's what we want you to know, that all you have to do is ask. And we will be there.
So, what is the next episode? What happens?
I've crushed all this together because this is just, my notes are, the Straw Hats battle against the Arlong Pirates begin.
I love the fact that, like, just how the entry is literally just Luffy just absolutely just.
Well, that's where the episode ends. That's why it's so good. He kicks the door open, like smash, and he's like, Arlong!
So good.
And then to be continued, and you're like, we're fucking in this. And now, like, you get like 6 episodes straight of just like going at it. But I want to talk about some big things. The Usopp, this is another big one. Not his biggest one yet, but the town members try and nearly come in with the Straw Hats, and then, like, while the others are all distracted, like, they're about to probably get attacked by the Arlong Pirates, and that's where Usopp does his big, like, taunts them, and is like, you got nothing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he's all talk, this guy,
But he does it because he knows the townsfolk will become part of the fight, and he's like, cool, I'll be the I'm useless in a fight, so I'll be a sacrificial pawn to save the civilian. And that's where he does his huge run off and distracts one of the pirates.
Yes.
We'll get to him later. We get to see Zoro's injury.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not as intense as it is
again.
in
So
the
Zoro's still hurt. He's injured because after his fight with what's his name?
Oh, Jesus, I wrote it down.
Well, you said it before. Hawkeye.
Hachi, yeah.
You know Hawkeye,
No.
Mihawk.
Oh, Hawkeye. Yeah. Hawkeye, Mihawk. Yeah.
So he's still injured.
So, this is our first nearly callback as well of Zoro actually blocks Hachi's move in the same way Mihawk blocked his attack. You know how Zoro comes in with 3 multiple attacks and Mihawk blocks it with
one little stabby stick sword.
But he blocks it all at one go.
Yes.
And when Hachi goes in with all 8 at the same time, Zoro blocks them with just his one blade.
So he's
and it's he's already calling back to Mihawk stuff.
Cool.
And it's really cool kind of moment and all that.
Yeah.
All right, now we'll get back to Usopp. This is his big kind of moment that gets very overshadowed by the Nami stuff and everybody else's stuff, where he gets to a point where he's like, all right, I've lost him. I can just hide out. No, he does the sauce bottle.
Oh,
he does the sauce bottle.
Yep.
And then the fisherman's like, yep, he's dead. All right, I've got to go. And then he starts heading back. And then Usopp has this realizing moment of I can keep playing possum, but he might go back. And then he starts having all the flashes of everyone doing their huge moments of even Nami of stepping up where a moment she will probably die. And you have the Zoro I will never lose moment, and you have Sanji's moments, and then Luffy, and then he has a real big crisis of faith of
needs to progress.
I'm not like everybody else because they are natural. Is it really bravery when you are that powerful and when you're always courageous? Are you really courageous, or are you just is that just who you are? Well, Usopp is naturally a coward. That's how he was born. That's his personality. So this is where I say he's braver than everybody in the crew, where he fights his natural urge to run, all that, and he's I can't do this anymore. To be part of this crew, and it ties into all the flashbacks of I've got to step up in moments where I need to step up.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because he has already stepped up twice during this arc of the town and then the townspeople. But he's just nope. And he hops up and even the fisherman is surprised.
Yeah.
You could have stayed dead and I wouldn't have known.
That's right. Because they were running and then he plays dead. He plays dead, and then he's like, "Oh, I could survive here, and be fine." But then he goes, "No, I'll step up."
And that's where when you were "Oh, I hate Usopp," and still, and then when you were further than this point, I'm like, but he does these things. He just gets overshadowed so much by them doing even huger stuff. But,
but he's the normal person in an Unreal Universe sort of thing.
Yeah, he has bigger walls to cross than all these people. Well, Luffy just punches through a wall.
But I like it. I don't poo-poo Usopp all the time. I'm just more mindset of going I do want Usopp to win. I just want him to progress. And I know he's not. I don't expect him to progress at a level where I don't know, Zoro and Luffy are going to go
a lot slower than everybody else.
And that's absolutely fine. And you're still I'm all about the underdog. I just want to see.
Boy, do I want to talk about Water 7 again? Boy, does he have his fucking arc in Water 7, boy.
Oh, I'm so far away from that.
Yeah, I know. But woof. So there's that. And he copies a move used earlier on himself when Nojiko hits him with the hammer and knocks him out. This is where he starts developing actually one of his signature moves, the Usopp hammer.
Yeah.
And that's where he he's very smart, does the alcohol first and shatters it, covers him in alcohol, and then shoots his fire star at him to catch him all on fire. And then he runs across and smashes him in the skull with it.
With the what does he do? Hasn't he got frying pans? What's he got? I can't remember. He's got just a hammer.
One he uses his mallet. Yeah, same looking one that he got hit with and we won't talk about it in the podcast for a while, but you are going to get up to a moment where, Usopp hammer comes in fucking clutch. Okay. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's going to be his signature.
So, that's one of his signature moves. Cool. The fight, and, we'll talk about it a little bit. We get to see more of the Achilles' heel of the devil fruits where like if they're in water, but like the villagers save Luffy by utilizing his rubber and having his head kind of out. And then you see like Sanji's fight against the fisherman and how like it changes dynamics with him in the water. But then like also Sanji stepping up as well in this fight where he's like, nah, like
Sanji's a badass. Sanji can fight, and this is where you really see it. Like you saw it in the Baratie.
When he gets out of the water, he then like takes it to the fisherman and all that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the karate stuff later.
Yep.
Because that ties in with a lot of stuff together. Arlong gets his teeth knocked out by Luffy and then like gets new teeth. It's still like...
And then there's the running jag about taking the teeth out and like how many of these can you continue to grow.
And then like Luffy gets his own feet. Oh man. And then that ties into, as I said, like fishermen do care about each other a lot. They call each other brother, and Arlong actually gets angry at Luffy for using one of like just a non-named minion to block the attack. Like, how could you make me hurt my brother? And it was like, oh, we haven't really had this dynamic. Like, we do with Luffy and his crew, but like they're good.
Yeah.
But we're getting that dynamic in an evil crew, and it's like, oh, okay. Like pirates aren't as
whereas previously like they were happy to sort of like go on each other and kill each other. Yeah. I think Buggy was different. Buggy was probably your first.
Buggy does like his crew.
Buggy does like his crew.
I think he accidentally hurts his crew a few times and all that. But
like, the crew likes him because when they lose him, they're like they find him again. They're like, oh
yeah, that's a thing.
That's weird. But anyway.
But we get to the next kind of last kind of big moment where like Luffy gets knocked into Nami's like childhood room of Arlong Park. And this is, as we talked about earlier, of like, this is a bigger moment if you actually think about it, because Luffy wasn't there for Nami's backstory. So this is kind of his first moment. And you get once Luffy is fully serious yet again, because like Arlong has the sword to his like throat, this like big, huge like saber thing, and like Luffy grabs it and snaps it.
Yeah.
And you're like,
this is
what?
Yeah.
And then he starts like just break, because he like it does fully click into him what this room metaphorically means for Nami. Like this is her prison, like genuinely a prison of her mind.
Those flashbacks were heavy, but like she's obviously that young girl and she's trapped in this room.
Because he picks up the pen,
the pen's
and
got
it's
all
covered
blood
in
stains on it. So that's
and
all
you
that
haven't
she's
got that
ever
flashback
done.
just yet. And then like 2 seconds later, you get the flashback of her like crying over things she's been drawing maps for so long.
Yeah.
Like Luffy is like picking up all of the detective Batman signs of the room, and it's just like,
and it's also like that they have that moment there where I think she draws, like she just draws, he takes a moment to draw. What does she draw? She draws Bellamere. And then he's like, you know, you're not allowed to draw any of this. If I ever see this again, I'll just kill you, sort of thing. Your sole purpose is just to draw every week.
He goes to Luffy, she's our navigator.
Yeah.
She's ours. I'm going to use her.
Yeah, use her.
And all that. Like, and then like really like property. And that's just like when Luffy flips the fuck. Like, he still probably had the tiniest, slightest bit of like leverage for him, because probably of how he treated the fisherman of like, okay, fine. Like, I still hate you and you've done terrible things. But then like he realizes like, no, Nami is 100% an object for this person.
Yeah. And that's a major theme. Like that's the thing that you
flips
get.
out. And then that's where he's just like, no, smashes everything, and he's like,
he just goes Burka,
and then and uses a cool new technique. God, that final fight where he like,
it's so good.
No, he's gonna get bitten, but he's like, yep, cool, that will bring down the thing. This is how I'm gonna. Similar to his like the stuff he learned in this fight with Captain Kuro, where like he knew he wasn't quick enough to catch Captain Kuro, so he would have to catch him doing something to him, and then that's how he gets the blow on Arlong.
Yeah,
and then that's when you get the huge next moment where he like shouts something, "Nami, you're my friend!"
Yeah, that's so good. That hits home, and also like the build up to that moment. But when he's like,
she's watching it.
That's it. So they have this big moment. The emphasis as a viewer, especially watching it for the first time, this is really where it sort of hits home. Is that like you've got Arlong and Luffy fighting, and then Luffy obviously just like self-discovering like what this room was and like what it was used for, and then him just stopping the fight and just destroying this room, and then you see the villagers.
They're not even fighting Arlong.
No. He's just smashing the room up. He's just like,
Yeah.
just destroying this room.
No matter what happens with this fight, I'm
tearing this
prison.
thing down. But then they have this, like, they do it so well where you got the villagers and you got Nami and they're just watching all the maps, all this work that's been done. The desk is like this massive symbolic, like, you know, it's almost the shackles. It's the prison that has kept her since, like, she was a tiny child, that robbed and took everything from her. And she's just
even
watching
for the village,
this.
because they've also stayed there because of this and all that kind of stuff.
And
that's their shackles as well.
And you see Nami just looking up in the sky, knowing, like, everyone else is going, why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? And it's only Nami's the person that actually knows. Like,
because she knows Luffy by this stage, and she knows that Luffy understands the scenario too, and she knows what Luffy is doing. And it's like, it's such a deeply layered scenario where, like,
it hits you
unless
hard.
you've had this time with the characters as well to know what they are thinking about other characters as well. And that's why, like, it all pays off, because you've had silly and happy and moments with these things, so you've got to see how all these characters react in certain scenarios, so you know what they're going through. And it's like,
and just the fact that there's that barrage from Arlong about the property that is my ownership, the whole thing like that, and the prison room and all the rest of it,
which like is huge tie-ins to his lore down the line.
But you don't know you know nothing about this. And then that moment, just watching this whole thing collapse. It's not a building. It is like, again, it's that whole symbolism as to what it really was for Nami and the villagers. And then just to have, like, that moment where, like, oh, are they both gone? Are they both dead? And who's the victor? You know, everyone's sort of waiting for that person to rise, whether it's Luffy or Arlong. And then you see Luffy get up. And it's such a powerful scene where you're like, it's not only does he get up, but the first thing he says is, like, just, again, raising his arms in the air, which he did in that scene previously that had our hearts, you know, basically torn apart, where he just screams out, Nami, you are my friend. You're like, and it's that moment, like, you're just like, fuck. Like, that's where you
not
knew
even like you're free or anything.
No, just you are my friend. Like,
you're my friend. Yeah. I've done everything.
I will never,
you are my
like,
man.
you will never feel like this again. I'll promise forever. You'll never feel like that way. It's the same vow almost that he's saying to, like, when Zoro has that fight.
It to him.
Where he says it to him about, like, I will never lose again. You deserve the best. It's such a powerful scene. And the build up to it is intense. And again, like, I reckon I would have seen that. I reckon I would have seen that scene before. But it meant nothing without that build up and the context to it. It's so hard. Like, after that sort of arc, the way that it was, the storytelling.
You've changed as a One Piece fan now. You're on the other side, and it's so hard to, like.
It's like watching. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. Like, it's probably the worst analogy, but, you know, when you watch something that is incredible, and you think, how can they maintain this? How can they continue to do it at this level? We talk about short period of time. It's not a short period of time. We've just watched 44 episodes of an anime that was actually quite slow. Like, you know, with the breadcrumbs. But the way that it still
nearly feels like it wasn't enough. Like, you could have fit more in there somehow. And
but I just don't. I don't think you would have wanted to. I think the way that they
that's what I mean. He has the perfect combo of, like,
it's
and that's why
really
when like One Piece, like, up to date One Piece fans hear, like, 1,000 episodes, I'm like, you don't understand. Like, when you get to 1,000 and you know we're finishing soon and stuff like that, and you don't want it to finish. Like, I wish One Piece would go till I died when I was 80. Like, straight up. And, like, God, he will keep proving it to you arc after arc, and you're like, there's no way the story gets better. There's no way he can pull a fast one on it.
If you are or if you've ever started watching One Piece and never made it this far, like, I've probably blown it anyway. But I sound cliche, but it is the journey. Like, it is the journey to get you to these points. Yeah. Where even though, like, I'm so interested to see how I would have reacted.
That's why I'm
if I didn't see any of that. Like, again, like, I've seen it before, so I knew it was coming, and I knew it was a powerful scene. And I still, like, it still gave me all the emotions and the feels. But, like, again, I just don't know how I would have reacted if I never seen anything
you could
like that.
see my face when we were talking about this. I was nearly like,
Yeah.
I was nearly like welling up talking about it. And I've
so
rewatched this so many times. It's probably 2 years ago that I first watched this scene, and it still hits me.
I hope,
because it is done so well.
I'm coming to the realization that it is the price for admission for this anime.
Yeah, I
It
know.
is storytelling done so well over a slow period of time where you'll get bits and pieces, and sometimes he'll dump a big load of story or emotional feels on you. But it just felt like this is the arc where he's like, I've baited them, and now I've just got to hook them in and just reel them in, but then know that there's other bigger fish in the sea on this thing. Like, just keep with me on this.
Yeah, we're not. God, like,
And I hope
we're not even a drop in the ocean at this stage, and that's the wildest fucking. Like, we don't like. You don't know what's going on with the government.
But-
you don't
but this-
know about
but
the
this
void
arc-
century. I know, that's what I mean.
This
It's
arc
so
has to.
good.
This arc, it's got to be big. I don't know. If you watch 1,000 episodes like you, would you say this is one of those standout arcs in the whole series?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
okay. So it's not just me.
This is the one you tell people. Yeah, they have to get.
You have to get it. And I think, in my personal opinion, again, like I'm only 108 episodes in, I think if it doesn't get you here, you've invested 44 episodes.
Yeah, I'm like, who hurt you? Who hurt you that this arc did not hit you
no
hard?
judgment whatsoever. If it's not meant to be and you gave it this long, maybe it's not meant to be. But like, I don't know.
If it does, we're going to do a special episode in the future. The movie, the one that I told you about.
Yep.
That because I can't remember who I was watching. Oh yeah, with an X. I was watching it, and we got only like a few, like 10 episodes. She didn't enjoy how it's drawn and all that, which actually is a thing that I've heard a lot about with One Piece. They don't like how it's like animated and stuff like that. Yet another reason why I'm excited for this live action.
Yep.
God, this might age very poorly by the time these episodes are out.
Mate, call it if you need to.
I don't care. Like, as you said, price of admission, very high.
Yep.
And you just need people to get through this stuff.
I think so. I think get to this point. If someone has made it this far and said it's not for me, no problem.
Fair.
No problems.
Fair. I will never
walk, exit,
never,
full refund, like no issues. Unfortunately, your time's not refunded, so unfortunate for that. If it's not meant to be and you reach this point, it's not going to happen. And it's so hard for me to say that because we're only 108 episodes in. But I just feel like.
Speaking of 108 episodes, we're going to wrap this really
all right,
up
let's
quick.
do it.
But there are many things I want to mention. This is the next episode after the fights all finish. This is your first of a major cool thing. This is your first appearance of the snail phones.
Ah, yes, the snail phones.
A big thing that comes, the Denden Mushies. Oh my God, we'll talk about them in a later thing when they show up a bit more. Because, God, I want to talk about the Denden Mushies. They are, God, such a cool thing that you've never seen. Because you know how things are always pulled from other media or inspired by. And the Denden Mushies my thing that I'm like, that's intrinsically One Piece.
Okay.
Straight up. This is your, like, mini version of most sagas. You save a village, huge party.
That seems to be a common theme, isn't it? Yeah. Move on.
Yeah. The kid, we mentioned it earlier, the kids talk about, even though we are saved, we're back to square one. Like, we have to rebuild, we have to start again. Like, it's
a long journey.
It's technically a celebration, but it's not. This is the start, unfortunately, for us. Like, we are not saved. He's just set us up. Now we've got to save ourselves. Oh man, Nami talking to Belle. I forgot about this scene, and I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Where she, at the end, she's back at the house and she's talking to somebody, and then it kind of pans over, and it's Bellamere, like a spell, a ghost
Spirit,
or an image, or even just like the memories of her, and because like
she's saying goodbye.
But also like, am I okay to leave? Like, am I like?
That's right. She's looking for a sign for permission. Yeah.
And it's, oh man, it's
so cool.
It's so cool. And just the last little bit when she's walking out the door and like the ghost kind of like gives her the nudge off. And it's like, ooh.
Has she done the tattoo? Has she done the tattoo redo at that stage?
Yes. Yeah. So you get the tattoo, the tangerines and the windmills, and
she redoes the tattoo. Yeah. That's so good.
Because here's where it ties in, where the saddest part of the anime, you don't get as much impact with this, but the final scene of the final episode of this arc where it's them sailing off, and it's like a pan view, and you get the grave and the pinwheel and the tangerine, and you see the boat kind of. That is one of the most beautifully artistic scenes in the manga. It is, and it is the final page. It's a full page as well,
cool.
and it's like
I have to check that out.
It's a beautiful moment in the anime as well. It has a nice.
They really try and highlight that, obviously with the graveyard, and then like he puts the pinwheel up there and everything that's symbolic to her, and that historically someone might
it's like life goes on as well, because like it's the windmill that ever keeps turning, and even though the big events that have happened here, like we got a death, like we don't get deaths in One Piece, and like the big things and the traumas and all that, like
and no Phoenix here.
On.
It's not. It's like I just like how they did it. It's really good.
It's not a rebirth.
It's it's not. No, it's just we're moving forward.
We've got to keep walking, with our pain and the things that have happened, the scars that we've taken in our life. We've got to keep
never
going.
Forget where we are, where we've been.
All right, universe building stuff. Arlong Park. Remember the image of Arlong Park? Why it's called Arlong Park? It looks like an amusement park. All of this is huge things we will learn just before the time skip.
Okay.
It's big stuff.
Time skips what? Like episode 500 and something rather?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So far.
I know, but it is a big thing, and like you won't. It's one of those things that you will miss.
Okay.
And because there is another like town way down the line that's called something Park.
Okay.
And all of it looks very different, all the similar.
Gotcha.
All of the fishermen's tattoos, they all have a sun tattoo. I don't know if
yeah. I do remember that. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. You'll learn about them and the Sun Pirates later down the line. I don't know why I kept writing Momo.
Yeah, Momo's the cow.
Oh,
the cow whale.
Cool. Because there's another character called Momo later on that I looked it up. I was like, what am I referencing?
Yeah, the cow.
That is a creature they brought from the Grand Line.
Yes.
He will also show up again.
Momo. I feel like, because there's a bit of a theme here where they're meeting these huge creatures, which, again, when they get to the Grand Line, become more
Momo
common.
Himself will show up again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Under the control of another set of people.
Oh.
You do get to see a bit more of the strength of the Grand Line, because like this is pirates that have come from the Grand Line rather than being on the East Blue. Like every pirate up until now has been from the East Blue.
And East Blue being the weakest of the six.
Yeah. We get to saw instantly how strong the step up is.
Yeah, that's it.
Thing and all that.
Yep.
First non-humans, sun tattoos, mentioned that. Fisherman karate, that is going to be a big thing.
Yeah, because old mate, one of the guys was like super karate.
He's
man.
like, I'm third down in karate and all that.
Seemed a bit random, but it sort of fit.
No, it's going to tie in a lot. There's a lot of characters that get taught fisherman karate as well.
Fisherman karate.
And it actually has a lot to do with water and stuff like that.
Okay, cool.
We get hints of Fisherman Island. They mentioned Fisherman Island. That's where they're originally from.
Yes.
There is an offshoot from Hachi. He mentions he is the second best swordsman of Fisherman Island.
Ah, okay, I missed that.
So we'll eventually meet the first one of that. We get the racism of the fishermen. Also, Hachi. I mentioned him many times because he's not initially hostile at all. You actually see he's not hostile until he gets told to be hostile.
Yeah, okay.
By Arlong, or when he meets Zoro in that bit at the start, he actually gives him a lift across the ocean and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's why I thought he was very. Out of all of the characters, he was the one. He was like the Luffy of the bad guys. He was very comical.
Don't worry, Hachi is a big character in the future.
Yeah, he's cool. I like Hachi.
Usopp, I already mentioned that. Oh, the pinwheel. Nami's weather. Oh, we get to learn. It's a more symbol of her eventual powers, because she kind of does a bit stuff to do with weather in the future, Nami.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Luffy's attack, the tattoo, and the thing we learned in the past when she was a kid, when she was constantly crying, when he put the pinwheel, in his hat, and it was the first thing that made her smile. So that's why he wore it for the rest of time, because like it always would make
the smile.
And
then it came back to the Bellamy of the smile, the genuine smiles.
Yeah. It is a story that will repeat many times in the future. Not this exact thing, but a character doing something really weird just to make somebody happy, or like doing something that like makes them ostracized maybe by the rest of the world. This one's not as bad because everyone laughed at him because he had a pinwheel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a common theme with a lot of characters in the future of like doing something just so they can take away the sadness of somebody else.
I like
and
it.
that's it. That's my thing. Arlong Park stuff is the hugest thing. And like, oh man, it pays off big of like, I don't know if it's something that he planned or was just like, I've got an idea after these characters I've created. But man, knowing Oda, it wouldn't surprise me that he'd set it up from the start. But it is huge world building and it has huge ties to the world government.
Yeah.
And like how they are as a people. Because we had, up until this point, even where you are, you actually haven't done anything with the world government themselves. You've done a lot with the Navy.
Yeah, that's it. It's all them
yeah.
stuffs. Overall, I think
That's
this was
it.
a fantastic arc. I like it.
Yeah,
I loved
likes,
it.
everything, 100%. Dislikes, 0%.
Not to rabble on too much, but there's plenty of quotes in this arc that really stand out. And I like just the last one that I'll add is just the Luffy quote, which I thought was really good, like when he's fighting Arlong. And he has that moment there where he's sort of like, they're battling on each other, and Luffy sort of has that part where he's just like, I can't use a sword, I can't cook, I can't navigate, I can't even lie. So he's talking about all the talents and skills that his other crewmen bring in. And sort of Arlong has that moment where he goes, well, it looks like you're pretty worthless. So then what can you do? And he's basically saying, I can beat you. And I think at the end of the day, that is such a strong, powerful moment there because this is where they've worked cohesively together. And even though Luffy just seems like he's an absolute, I don't know, airhead a lot of the time, which again, we talk about the fact that he really isn't. He's always steps up to the moment.
Well, he is, but he isn't. Like, he doesn't want to be serious all the
Nah,
time.
yeah.
Like, and that ties into Luffy pre-Shanks.
Yeah.
Like, he is that kind of serious boy up until the moment where Shanks shows him, like, no, like, you have fun in life and be joyful and all that. Because Luffy, in the bar, remember the bar?
Yeah, the bar.
And he's like, why? You're strong pirates. Why would you let him do those kind of things to you? And he's like, who cares, man? Like, just have fun. Like, life isn't about that stuff. Like, enjoy life and all that. And that's where Luffy, I think, adds that part of to his personality. Where, like, I really think he is like got those like autistic traits where he's that like solemn man. But then, like, if you know a lot of autistic people have been around, they have this thing called mirroring because they haven't got a lot of their own kind of like stuff. They'll mirror people in their life that they either like, enjoy, or like look up to and all that. And that, I think that's a part of him that he is like absorbed into him, not literally, but metaphorically, like absorbed into him, that like essence of Shanks. And when we learn a lot more about Luffy's childhood and stuff like that and stuff that happens on the island until he leaves, like you will understand where core tent poles of Luffy's personality come from.
I'm keen.
Yeah.
So good.
All right. I think it's time to wrap it up. Next episode, we will be talking about Logetown, Logtown, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's
Everyone
hard,
has
isn't
a
it?
different...
Logetown.
Oh, man. No, I think it's said differently in the English version, and then in the Japanese it's spelt a different... Oh, man, it's a whole thing. But we're like, how many episodes is in that one? 7 episodes. We're back to a tiny...
We're back to the short ones, short
tiny
stints.
arc, but God, we do have some fillers though. Episode 50 and 51 are our first fillers. I think they are the Sanji cooking competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Unless
fillers.
unless that character comes back, the one that I'm...
No, they don't.
No.
No.
Okay, all right.
Nope.
And you don't even ever see them eat that thing anyway, so...
No, you can watch it if you want, but if you want, you can skip episode 50 and 51 in our watch through and all that. But yeah, we're coming up to the end of the East Blue saga.
We're going to hit the grand line.
Yeah, we're going to hit the grand line, and we get our first introduction of a Logia user. Ooh, and a returning character.
A
That's
returning
where
character.
that's the teasers. We've mentioned that character many times in this episode.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I remember now.
Yeah. All right. This has been the Boy in a Barrel podcast. I have been your host and current Pirate King, Nato. You can find me everywhere. Well, let me just say everywhere at IKnowNato, because who knows by the time these episodes come out where you'll actually be able to find me.
That's it.
But you'll know wherever I go, I'll try and be IKnowNato. So whatever form of social media, you can contact me and just contact me on that. And this has also been your future Pirate King, Dane Pevy. Where can the beautiful people find you and the wonderful things you do?
Oh, mate, it's very much the same. Just have a look at Dane PV across the socials. And yeah, keen to hear your feedback, as always. Whether you're a Pirate King like Nato and watching it maybe for the first or second time round and you've hit all those milestones, let us know your thoughts. Did you think of or pick up anything from the episode from NATO's long-term viewing and manga updates, or are you a first-time watcher of this? How did that specific scene make you feel from the first time you watched it?
How did you go with this arc?
Yeah, like...
are you inspired to keep going now?
I hope you are. But if not, again, no judgment. I get it.
Yeah, just keep listening to our podcast. You'll get the wrap-up, so you
100%.
don't even have to watch it.
But thanks so much for joining in, guys. We love and appreciate you here.
Yes. Thank you. And remember, our fortune is there for the taking. But first, you have to find it. I left everything I own in one piece. Goodbye!
See everyone.
Arlong Park has fallen.
Hey, bro. I just wonder what went on in there.
We gotta know who won!
With all that debris, looks like...
Luffy!
It's Luffy!
Ah! Big bro! He's just standing there. What's wrong?
Nami! Nami! You'll always be my friend! Yeah.
He really won?
He won.